I wouldn't call myself a gacha expert, but what I can say is that I've been playing gacha games since I was, what, 11 years old? Man, does time fly. I grew up playing games like Onmyoji, Fate Grand Order, Food Fantasy, Ensemble Stars, AFK Arena. The pain of gacha salt is an old friend to me now. Out of all these games I've played though, there's one that stood out to me and has caused the brain rot so bad that it's gone on to infect my stream chat. Arknights. For those who don't know what a gacha game is, I'll sum it up as quickly as possible. A gacha game is a type of game that draws inspiration from Japanese capsule toys, wherein you put a coin in the slot of a vending machine, twist the handle, and a little ball or pill-shaped container rolls out. You open it up, and you get a random toy from the selection. Same thing, except in gacha games, you gacha for characters, which you can then play as for the rest of the game. The target market for these kinds of games are usually men. Yes, I know nowadays they're branching out. I'm looking directly at you, Love and Deepspace and Cookie Run Kingdom, but gacha games have always been primarily marketed towards men. Hence why, every time you hear about a new gacha game, there's always a pretty anime girl on the cover, usually with huge assets. Because of this as well, a huge chunk of the cast within the game are also going to be women with varying levels of chest size and amount of functional clothing. Arknights started out the same way too, where upon release they had a playable roster of 74 women to 9 men. At present time, their roster is 293 women to 94 men, at least at time of recording, which certainly doesn't sound like a lot, and yet there's something different about the way Arknights treats its men. This goes out to the girls, the gays, and the male knights enjoyers. Let's talk about what's the deal with Arknights men. If you clicked on this, you probably already know what Arknights is, but if you didn't and you just clicked because I probably put some clickbait title on this video, Arknights is a free-to-play tower defense strategy game that also doubles as a visual novel. It came out first in China on May 1st, 2019, and then in global on January 16, 2020. It quickly garnered a reputation for having some of, if not the best, world building in all of gacha history, and is often spoken about in the same breath as projects like Limbus Company. Arknights is already weird when it's compared to other gacha games. The story doesn't revolve around the main character. The events aren't just simple holiday events like summer or Halloween, and are in fact essential side stories to the main plot. The gacha system is also optional. You can clear the game simply by just using the units they initially give you. So on and so forth. Listen, I could sit here and glaze Arknights for hours, really, but right now we're focusing on how Arknights treats their men. As mentioned previously, gacha games are normally targeted towards the male demographic. This means that in most gachas, female characters are the main selling point, the focus, the stars, everything. Within the story, they make up the majority of the cast, all there for you as a player to meet, to charm, and to find your next waifu. They're what sell well, so they dress their characters up in skimpy clothing and give them huge chest sizes and entice the player base to use gacha currency on them. If you run out of gacha currency, well, time to pull out the wallet, or else you'll lose the pretty anime girl forever. Until she reruns, at least. But it doesn't stop there. Sure, they make the characters look as enticing as possible, but they also make sure that these girls will be good to play as. Always gotta make them stronger so they beat enemies easily. Always gotta make it so that the next unit is the new meta. After all, if the anime girl isn't the strongest, why would you be enticed to collect the materials to upgrade her and spend your time and effort on her, right? There's something to be said about how wrong it is that female characters are being advertised essentially as just girlfriend experiences and sold like a product, but that's for a different video. Now let's look at the way male characters are treated in most gacha games. Since the target market is men, you'd think it'd be preferable if the male player base had someone to project their desires onto and self-insert as in the gacha game. Well, actually, it's the opposite. We've had multiple incidents all across different gacha games where the male player base threw a fit and even threatened the developers' lives if a male character simply existed. They see male characters as a disruption to their waifu fantasies, and God forbid they come out with a male playable character. There's even a slogan in Chinese gacha communities that goes along the lines of, and loosely translated, "With selectable men, won't play." The most popular examples of this in action that I could think of are the Snowbreak incident, which a lot of other content creators have made videos on, so you can go search that up and you'll see what a mess it is. And also that whole incident in the Genshin Impact community, where people started killing random cats because cats were used to represent Wanderer, a male playable character. Male characters don't sell well, or so they say. Even in story, they're usually just playing second fiddle to the female characters, or sometimes completely absent. When they are playable, they'll either be of a lower rarity than the female characters, their abilities will be more niche or harder to use without the support of other characters, or both. If you look at the ratio of male to female characters in most gacha games, you'll see that, yeah, it almost feels like they're avoiding releasing more male characters, probably because of a fear of a loss in profits. Even in the stories of their games, they do their best to refrain from having male characters as the focus of a chapter or an event. By this metric, considering Arknights' female-to-male ratio is 293 women to 94 men, which makes their male character percentage 24.29%, which is lower than Wuthering Waves' 25%, you'd assume that they treat the men the same way all these other gacha games do. And yet, male characters are consistently present in both main story and side story content within Arknights as either playable characters or NPCs. They're given focus and spotlight, and they aren't just there to prop up the female characters. They're given agency, they're given their own storylines, they're given reason to exist outside of whatever storyline the player character or the female characters are going through. There's usually at least one featured playable male character in most events that Arknights has released so far, either as the welfare unit or on the banner as a pollable unit. Male units within Arknights are also what you'd consider good units in terms of their abilities, so much so that there's a dedicated playstyle wherein you only play as the male characters called Male Knights. Some units are even so good that they're labeled as game-breaking. Since Arknights is also a game that encourages team building and allows you to play around with your strategies, you never have to worry about your characters having to do everything alone, though that's more of praise towards the game design of Arknights more than anything. Men in Arknights are also really hot. No, listen. We have someone for everyone. We have someone for the furries. We have someone for the old man enjoyers, the buff men enjoyers, the twinks, the twonks, the femboys, the cute boys, regular old guys. We have someone for everyone. You know what? Here's a few more honorable mentions because oh my god, there's so many hot men. Oh my god. Special shout out to Matsukiri for being blind in one eye, and Harold for being an amputee and using a leg prosthetic that the game proudly displays and decorates with stickers. Oh, right, and did I mention that the male units are given skins as frequently as the female units are? Yeah, they're given skins that look absolutely gorgeous, though, to be fair, all the skins in Arknights are absolutely gorgeous. Unlike other games, wherein a majority of the male characters are either handsome, slender beasts, or short and pretty and almost female-looking, Arknights allows their men to look like, well, men. Arknights allows for imperfections on both their male and female characters, and though this video is about the male characters, I'll mention some notable female units as well, because gacha games love making their women all prim and perfect and easily palatable, and Arknights ain't about that life. There's Catherine and Mantra, our local hags, and Mantra who is selectively mute. There's Lemwen, who requires mobility aids due to an injury, and while she can move her legs, she no longer has a full range of motion and thus needs her wheelchair. Vulcan, who is an amputee like Harold and uses a leg prosthetic, Asbestos, who is blind in one eye, Ajafiala, who is experiencing a slow decline in hearing, and Nightingale, who has a condition described in the game as deficient limb mobility. The art direction of Arknights as a whole is also worth mentioning, because a lot of what you'll see while playing Arknights will be the art. Arknights occasionally takes inspiration from real-world places to design their characters, and when they do, it's done in a way which reveals a level of respect that other certain games just can't seem to match. Characters like Thorns, who takes inspiration from the Moorish people, Sand Reckoner, who takes inspiration from Egyptian history and their mythology, Jie-yun, who takes inspiration from Central Asia and Hinduism, they're all treated with the same respect Arknights gives their other more racially ambiguous characters. As an aside, shout out to that one player out there who constructed her whole final thesis around Silver Ash's base outfit. Though I have personal beef with NCD's Silver Ash and I refuse to give him any acknowledgement or flowers, he unfortunately dresses real good, so much so that they made a thesis on it. Even the way they design skins is unique because rather than simply just basing them off of holidays like summer or Halloween or a Christmas event, they structure it in the form of fashion magazines, and each magazine is focused on a concept. For example, Epoch skins are for displaying the past lives of the characters, Marth skins are for exercise wear, Ambient Synesthesia is for the outfits that units are put into for Arknights' Concert of the Year, and Bloodline of Combat are for showing what a unit's peak combat ability looks like, and so on and so forth. For all I glaze Arknights though, it's definitely not perfect. As stated previously, even if there's a lot of amazing male characters, they still only comprise less than 25% of the playable roster. A majority of the banners still have the female characters as the main focus, even if there's a male character on the same banner. There's also a lack of variety in terms of body shapes, though it could be argued that there should be more variety for both men and women. There are no chubby characters for the men, and there are no muscular characters for the women. There's also, of course, the general lack of more dark-skinned characters, which, to be fair, plagues every gacha game. But, despite all its imperfections, it is still different. It shows that there's not only a market for male characters, but unique male characters. Past the whole usual, like, pretty boy anime-style designs, listen, Arknights men are just so slept on by the wider gacha community and sometimes even the Arknights community itself. I can't believe this is coming from me, of all people.
But for crying out loud, stop looking at the women titties. Bigger breasts does not mean bigger importance.
Of course, I can't force anyone to pay attention to units they don't care about, what with y'all's like waifus and daughters and whatever, but like previously stated, Arknights men are severely underappreciated. Someone's gotta start talking about the glory of Arknights men. Listen, these pixels have single-handedly raised my standards for what men in gacha games could and should look like. Oh my god. Anyways, if you watch this video all the way to the end, thank you for listening to my rambling. It's very much appreciated. I'm glad I could talk about Arknights for an extended period of time. And I really do hope more people play Arknights and read its story because it's some of the best storytelling I've read in a long while. Okay, bye.